everybody. Another session of Awaken Your Work Life, real stories, because you know what? Sometimes it takes a little bit much to jump yourself, but sometimes if you hear the success stories of other people who have jumped, and Danny has joined Karen and I today, and I'm super excited for her to share.
Hi. Yes, nice to see you all. Nice to meet you too. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and we right when we were talking before we came on, Danny was talking about this quote that I would absolutely love for her to read to you all, because it is so true and it will resonate.
Yes. And I'm laughing as I read this because I'm thinking, if I had read this before I jumped, would I have jumped? But here's a quote. This is something I found on Facebook, and it says, "Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone, your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends, being liked and understood. But it doesn't matter, because the people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. You're going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. And instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you're going to be seen. All you're going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. Let it go."
That's awesome.
Oh, that is attributed, if my eyes will let me see it, that is attributed to Brianna Weist.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Isn't that good?
That is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because part of the process is, you know, when you say those who are coming with you will come with you, the other side of that is allowing all that's meant to fall away.
Yes.
Because often we try to grab it back and be like, oh, but that's familiar.
Completely. Completely. And that's the thing, like anybody who tells you taking the leap to jump into a life you know you're meant to lead, that it's easy and simple, that's bullshit. Oh, can I say that here?
Oh, yeah. we speak English here. No problem.
Thank you. Because
or at least I do. Karen might. Karen's more polished than I am.
Oh, girl, no. It's all good.
Yeah, because it's not easy. In fact, just yesterday, I had a meltdown. I was like crying and talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, oh my God, I've done the wrong thing. I made the wrong decision. Right. And then all that does is actually release more for the next step, the next part in the journey.
Right.
Totally.
So just real talk. It's not easy, but oh my God, like what else is there?
Yeah. And to that point, I'm just going to add that what so many of us don't understand is that we have natural cycles. Just like anything else in nature, we cycle. And so people get this thing in their head where they think that once they've made a decision, it's just going to be all uphill, like all downhill and golden and like so easy and like clear. And the truth is that just like anything else, there's a window of like contraction and hibernation. And often that's when we start to feel like, is this right? Am I doing this? You just need to get quiet for a minute. And then there are those moments when you're like, yes, I've got this. That makes sense. Things start coming into you. People are connecting with you. So just like anything else, and those cycles can look different. Yeah. Like sometimes they're volcanic, like nothing. And then it's, and sometimes they're like sinus waves, and they're just up and down, kind of rhythmically, you know, kind of maybe with the lunar cycle. I don't know, you know. Some people are more like, like this, like almost like lightning bolts, right? Where it's like sharp and then sharp and then sharp. You just need to know, or a spiral. Sometimes people are just a little bit all the time. Just pay attention to what your cycle is. So yeah, we all get that. We all get that, like, what have I done? To your point.
Yeah, the
like get quiet, incubate a little bit more, allow perspective to return, and then go to the next thing. Everything needs to rest. Everything. Yeah. That's natural.
I have a friend of mine who part of her coaching process, she's a coach as well, is helping her clients to identify basically what you just said, Karen. What is their process? Are you more like the spiral, or are you more the spiky lightning bolt? You know? I've noticed for me, I've learned this over the years. I'm a burster. That's what I call it, meaning like I'm like, I don't know. I know. I mean, it's that quick. I'm like, and the I don't know is stressful as hell.
Yeah.
And And then just, it happens like that. Like one day I wake up and I know.
Do you feel like you trust that now?
Yes, I really trust the I know, duh. I am learning, I'm better about trusting the I don't know, but here's what I mean, over my life journey with this process, what I've learned is that the more I act on it, the more I act on the knowing and make the hard leaps. It's like the universe ups the game on the waiting.
Totally.
Right?
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I got this. I know how to trust this. And then there's a whole nother element. Like you're going to quit your job during a pandemic and buy a brand new car. And you don't know why. I don't know why. Why am I quitting my job? Why did I buy a new car? I don't know. Okay, I know now. But back in August, I didn't know. I was just like, really? There is nothing logical about that. My friends were freaking out, like you're quitting a job during what are you going to do? How are you going to make money? I'm like, I don't know. That's your anxiety, not mine. I'm just doing it. You know? Oh, it's a thing.
That is a thing, right? And that's where we talk about the fact that watch who you're telling these things to, because when you're in that I don't know phase, and then people are going, you're nuts, you're crazy, those are your Debbie Downers, and they don't mean to be, they're just worried. Karen, you have a great way of framing that it's like
they're vested in the way things were, and they're just really worried and concerned for you. Like their love for you looks like the old you.
Right. Yeah.
It's attached
and there's change for them too. Like, well, at least I don't know if it's true across the board, but for me, you're like, right? The mirror aspect, like, oh my God, you're doing something I want to do in my soul, but I'm not willing to listen to that, right? But also, at least in my scenario, I know some of my most direct friends, the choices that I'm making are impacting them, right? Because their lifestyle is going to change and they're going to have to deal with a loss. And so it's that like, some of that's unconscious too, I think. I don't know that they're fully aware of that. And there's loss. And then also, to your point, Julie, the mirror of like, there's something, I believe there's something in everyone that if you are not completely aligned with what your soul knows you're meant to do in this world, you will feel the pings all the time. Then you get to choose whether or not you listen to them.
Yeah.
I remember when I was leaving corporate, I had been at the gas company and helping them deregulate, right? When all that stuff was happening. And once we shared with the rest of the organization kind of that this was happening, like I was going to be leaving, I had given them 3 months notice, right? The number of people who came into my office, closed the door and sat down and said, oh, I wish I could be doing what you're doing, but I only have, I've only got 3 years left or 5 years left until I'm fully vested, or I don't know what I would do, or, that there's so many closeted people here that when somebody in their ecosystem, right, makes a move like the one you're making, it triggers them, right? It triggers them to Julie's point, to look at like, well, what does that mean to me? Do I want to do something like that? What am I not doing in my own life? So they start to reevaluate their own scenario. And that can be very unsettling. Yeah. Because the things they know they've been unsatisfied with come to the surface.
Well, because when you change, so we're all energetically connected. So when one shifts, it changes the energy grid for everybody because we're energetically connected. Mm-hmm. So that's where, if you're staying up, then it either causes people to rise with you or fall away. Yeah. That's what happens in our lives. So Danny, tell us about your jump. Tell us about how, give us the scoop. Like people want to know.
So it's actually 2 phases. The one I talked about back in August, and then what's actually happening now, which is very in my face. And I'm laughing because there's been a shift in the jump since I met you and knew this was happening. So I was, when it happened last week, I was like, oh God, can I still go on the Facebook Live because my life is falling apart? Like, okay. So I knew just from sheer unhappiness and misalignment. I was with a corporate job. I'm a life coach and former therapist. And so I was a master coach for the region for a corporate company. I had 89 coaches that were on the bench that I managed, and just so very, very corporate, which I am not. And I'm going to be 51 years old in 9 days. And I am finally saying, oh, I'm not aligned with corporate. Oh, okay. And then this past job that I just quit, I was full-time, but for 20 years before that, it was called an on-call employee. So it was basically contract. So I still stuck my toe in the corporate world because it was lucrative, right? So it was go in and I get 6 days of work, make thousands of dollars, come back out, and then figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. What I realized is that was what I called like the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
It felt like a really logical financial plan to do all the right things to get. And again, I turned 50 a year ago and was like, life does end. Like, I do want to do something with that whole midlife thing. That's real, people. That is real. So I have completely given up the corporate connections at all. I have said no to all corporate things that have come my way, which again, lots of people think I'm absolutely nuts for that. But what it has done, it has freed up energetic space for me to fully step into what I believe is my life purpose. And so what I did is, after I had a full-time corporate job, I quit in October, did some more golden handcuffs through the end of the year. And then starting in January, I relaunched my coaching practice, and it's all about awakening magnificence. It's not just like, oh, I want to move from point A to point B. It's really about like, no, do you want your soul to come alive? Do you want to live the life you're meant to live? Like that's the kind of coaching that I'm doing. So if you're going to do that, you should walk your talk. So
it's kind of like being a financial planner and actually having your financial life in order.
Yeah. You know what? I was like, oh, maybe Julie and I actually need to talk. Yeah. It's a little unconventionally. But I did it. This was the I don't know. My lease was up where I'm at in Chicago in May. So it's up at the end of it's May 21st, 25 days, people. 25 days. My lease is up. And I was like, what are you going to do after that? Huh?
Who's counting?
Yeah, right. Who's counting? No, I finally got the boxes. You can see I bought boxes.
Oh, that's great.
But everyone's like, well, where are you going? What are you going to do? And it was, I don't know. I tried to go to Santa Fe, and I still would like to, but I won't go into the details. Those doors kept getting shut. I was like, all right, universe, I thought it was Santa Fe, but it's clear, something's happening.
You're on the bridge.
Long story. I thought I would like just drive somewhere and go to Airbnb, but what came to me, the part that I kind of freaked out about is, I'm going to go live in my car for at least a month.
So I need to connect you with my friend Kimberly, who she left Manhattan as the pandemic hit, got a trailer, and she's been driving around the country with a trailer and a new pickup truck.
It's a thing.
That never fit in Manhattan after 20 years of living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, and I've been watching YouTube videos about the whole van life thing. I'm like, this is real. I just have my car. I'm like, oh, this is why I bought the car last fall. And I'm going to go to a campsite. I don't know where yet. But I'm in a car camp for 2 weeks. I'm pushing my business down into 2 days where I can be online. So if I need to be on the phone or on Zoom, 2 days to figure that out. The other days I can work without having to, or just go be in nature. The draw for me, the listening is go be in nature, go sit. You're going to be bored. You're going to be isolated. It feels like an initiation of some kind that I don't understand.
You're creating your version of walking the Camino in Spain.
100%.
Yep.
Oh,
beautiful.
Yep. And so I haven't told my mom yet, even I don't care how old she is. They still worry about you. So my mom's gonna freak out about this.
Oh my God. How fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. And I would love for you to share, with the people listening, because there will be those who are like, I could never do it.
Yeah. Oh my God, I've heard it.
And then they're like, there are people whose jaws just drop like, really? Well, what are you gonna do? Like they want to know like all those answers. And so I want you to tell them what it means for you to be willing to rely on you.
Well, first thing that's coming to mind is just, again, real talk. It's scary, right?
Yeah.
So don't think you're going to do this without fear. If this is something that you feel called, some version, whatever your road trip or car camping or living out of your car is, it's scary. That's the first thing. And I think the other thing is that I'm really coming to terms with is you can't fully know. You just have to step.
Right. That's the
I
trusting
just had
process.
to decide to move out, and I just had to decide to put my stuff in storage. And then I just had to decide, oh, I feel this call to nature and this push to live in my car, which if you know me, I'm not a super nature person. I'm more and more now, but like people are like, who are you? But I'm just like, so it's literally, so, I mean, Karin, sometimes it feels like one day at a time. What am I supposed to do today? And that's all I can know. But the more you do that, the more it becomes reliable. Like you get to know your authentic self. You get to know that inner wisdom. I believe there's a divine aspect to it. You get to know how you hear from yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And it's what's really beautiful about that is it is living in presence, right?
Oh.
Like I'm like totally hearing your book, right? And you'll journal every day and you'll capture that and like reflect for people with photographs. Your book will have photographs in it too. But it's like that living in presence thing and what that is. Because the only time we have to take action, right, is like right now.
Right.
We can't do it yesterday. We can't do it tomorrow. Like it's right now. And so it's a really powerful, I love it. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Well,
and if you, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Julie.
No, I was just going to say what I really want people to hear from this is completely out of the box. We have a idea that our work life is linear in nature, right? Because our parents before us worked hard their whole lives and retired. Like they climbed the ladder in whatever career path they had. And when you're really living and being in the present moment, it's not necessarily a linear line.
No.
And it's now your line may be linear. Yours may absolutely be that path if that's what your knowing is. But I can tell you with all the people that I've coached, it matches Danny's process here because it's been like, okay, because what could not be linear, whether your personal life shifts and then your work life shifts and then because it's all interrelated. And I just know when you don't follow that knowing that you have, Danny, that's super strong. Yeah. That's when disease develops in your body.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it's been depression, like actually like really struggling with seasons of depression and or anxiety.
And most people then do drugs for that. They get pharmaceutical drugs to deal with. I mean, the volume of anti-anxiety meds that this country is on is off the charts.
Yeah. And one of the other, this is a really interesting insight that I had. So I used to work at Canyon Ranch. I don't know if you're familiar. It's health resort and spa in Tucson.
Just thinking about them. Seriously,
I was an on-staff life coach there. So it was very cool. But one of the things that there were two main themes that I saw. Now, you know, Canyon Ranch is not a cheap place. And so you see fairly successful people coming through. And I did a series of lectures and then group coaching and one-on-one coaching for people. And the themes that I saw, one was the numbers of people, women in particular, who wanted to stop drinking wine every single night. And like that specific, it came up every single group session we had. And that just, and I thought that's kind of what you said, Julie, it's not the, you know, that maybe it's not the antidepressant, anti-anxiety, but it's definitely the numbing. It's definitely the, I don't know how to deal with this feeling. And if we really dig into that feeling, it's because your soul is trying to tell you something that you're not aligned with something in your life. Right. And then the other piece, besides the wine that was pretty common, was unresolved grief. So, and I'm not necessarily talking like big losses or deaths but the little things in life that people didn't realize was grief. So maybe it was the loss of what they wanted their child to be, but their child has turned out as something different, which is so much shame because who wants to admit that, right? Or the grief around never being able to have a child, or empty nesting, or the identity shift from retiring. And retiring is supposed to be amazing, but actually I don't know what to do with myself anymore. And so,
Right.
but I can't grieve this because it's supposed to be a good, like the amount of unresolved grief was astounding to me. So those are kind of the two things I saw that I'm like, these two things are keeping people from fully living into who they're meant to be in the world.
Right.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because it speaks to two things to me. One is the need for something they can count on, something that becomes regular, something that becomes like a
Ritual.
schedule or ritual. And drinking, like even if they're not really enjoying it, they want to stop, right? But it becomes something. When we have rituals like that with regularity, they become like security blankets.
Yes.
Even if it's not something that's healthy. And then the grief thing is so true. As a culture, we are so bad at helping people to manage grief. There's a great book called The Grief Recovery Method. And in that book, the authors reflect on the fact that the average American has something like 40 grief-inducing experiences, the average 40 in a lifetime. And when you sit down as like a normal person, you try to think like, well, what could 40 things be that I would be experiencing grief over?
Mm-hmm.
And the kinds of things you started to reference, they start to add up really quickly.
Yes.
Not getting a job, reaching an age in your organization where you know you're not going to get the next promotion because they consider you to be aging out.
Yep.
There is grief with that when you consider you've been working your entire life in an industry or an area or a type of role, or you feel like you've got the experience to take it. You know, it's very eye-opening. And I think culturally, if somebody decided to begin to really coach around grief, it would blow up.
Yeah. And, I'm currently working to figure out how to work that into not my practice, because I do it in my practice, but in my marketing, because what I found is when you say grief, most people tend to go to death.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, it's like, oh, no, it's so much more than that. But
One of the things that I learned in the work that I've done with some of my coaches was that we identify, so we know anger or rage. So I've had a lot of women. That's why I think when women grow in their careers, they become the bitch at the top, right? Because that's underlying sadness, which comes out as anger or even rage, a more pronounced, right?
Yep.
And so I've had quite a number of women lately that have, like, I had a client recently that she is projecting her sadness so much out at me and my team. I actually asked her I agree that it's time for us to move on and she needs to go find another advisor, because we have to realize that this is unresolved stuff within ourselves. And you can only project that so long on other people without dealing with that grief and sadness inside of yourself for so long. And that's okay. We're all going to come to that time period when we're ready to deal with it, but we may or may not deal with it in, time, but it's about being aware. Cause I really believe that, once you shine the light on the sadness or the grief and what you're sad about, I would once you shine that light, it goes away. Because like I would walk around my house going, why am I sad? Why am I sad? This was years ago. And I'm like, because I was angry. And I was like, I had 2 bouts of rage. I'm going, no. What, come on. I'm more aware.
Something's up. Yeah.
What's going on? And then I just kept walking around going, why am I sad? Why am I sad? Why am I sad? And then all of a sudden it would unlock something eventually. I'd have a good cry. I don't know. Half the time I didn't even know what it was about, but I got it up and out. Because what happens is those emotions get stuffed down into our bodies.
Yep.
And then it crystallizes, and that crystallization building up over the years of the feelings that you didn't feel creates disease in our bodies.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that this all has to do with, like, we're not living the work lives that we want to live because we've pigeonholed ourselves into a lifestyle financially or something.
Yes.
Or, who we're providing for on a family perspective. Yeah. And we're not choosing to be nimble in that process. Yeah. But we have to really understand that we are the creators of our lives and we always have choice.
100%. And what that point about when people are ready, I think is really important, because if you think of the metaphor that I like to use, if you imagine you've got a scared dog who's kind of back in the corner and it's been, it's holding pain. If you're trying to go in and rescue that dog, it's not going to, right? So so I'm saying this like the people that are listening, if you're feeling this like, oh God, I know there's something I need to deal with. I know there's something I need to deal with.
Mhm.
Like they can be like the scared dog and feel like we're coming at them and can actually push them further away. And so what I want to say is, no, just acknowledge what's happening. Like if you're listening to this and you are being stirred with like, oh, I hear truth in this. Oh, I hear there's something I need to look at. Just notice that with curiosity. Like, oh, yep, there it is. And when you're ready, you can step into it. Just like with the puppy, like if you leave the food, like here's the food for you. When you're ready, you can come out and eat it. Because if it feels like you have to deal with this, or you're forced to deal with it, you actually, people will run, far to the other side. So I just want to say like, no, it's okay. Just listen to what your soul is saying. Go back to your life that feels comfortable right now, and then start to slowly come back in and get curious. What happened here? What was my soul trying to tell me?
So this is so important because we've stopped going to the new adventure in our lives, and it decreases after our childhoods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we become adults and then we stop taking new adventures.
Life gets very serious.
And then you get older and you stop, you stay home more, or you don't travel as much, or I have some people I'm like, leave your laptop at the office. And they're like, huh? Like I had this one guy, it took me a year and a half to get him to not open his laptop on the weekends. And I was just like, because I couldn't get him to leave it at the office. But literally about 2 years into becoming a client, he sends me an email and he goes, I just wanted to let you know, I haven't looked at my laptop since Thursday night. It was Monday morning. And I was like this was a monumental thing because he gave so much to the corporation. He gave so much of his time, his energy, and everything. The problem was he wasn't happy.
Right.
So, and he was working so much that was no different than the wine is a distraction. So is working volumes of hours.
100%. Yep.
That you're not being compensated for. That's another addiction.
Yep.
And it's a distraction to going, oh, I'm working all these hours because I really actually don't like what I'm doing, and I'm just pounding it out, and I'm just like proving I'm enough.
I don't have to sit with what I'm actually feeling.
Right. Because that's our avoidance into our feelings. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that we really have to learn to stop valuing ourselves on anything based on anything extrinsic versus intrinsic to us. Because here's the thing, we become bitter in our work environment when we give, do, show up, and can be so easily discounted or overlooked, or, I don't know, name the dismissal, right? And then we look back and we feel like we're owed and we're resentful because we did all this for you, corporations. Right. And this is how you're going to treat me. This is what I get. This is how it lands. And so the thing we want to say to people is corporations don't determine your value.
Right.
They cannot determine your value. And this is going to sound a little like crazy, but like, don't trust that. Right. Don't trust and don't count on them being able to see you completely.
But it's amazing how we give so much credence to everything that's outside of us as opposed to what we believe about ourselves.
Right. And then we're disappointed when the outside doesn't reflect what we think we should be owed. And there's a whole practice, and I'm sure, Danny, you do it in your coaching as well, for people to begin to really understand and account for themselves. That's like in the soul code, that's what it's about. It's like really helping you see what your value is so that you don't have to be dependent on anybody outside helping you feel like you're deserving or worthy. And it's a huge, huge step. I don't even think we understand how we set ourselves up for that, or how we've been set up, actually socialized.
As you're talking, keep thinking culture,
Yep.
like our
It's a
culture
huge
and our
culture thing.
society has so many, I mean, there's some good to that, right? We need to have a structure in our society, and culture also holds so many people back from the things they're really wanting to do. And to your point, really knowing their value.
Well,
Their
and
true
there are limiting belief patterns. So we have these limiting beliefs in our culture, like even the accumulation of stuff, right? You work so hard, you accumulate all these things. And, I've had clients that have always, where their bonuses, they're paying cash for Teslas and stuff like that. And I'm like going, you're not happy. If you're paying cash for a Tesla, that means something's off base for you in your work life, that you're using that much money out of your hard-earned work and not creating more freedom for yourself, because buying more stuff doesn't get you more freedom. It actually pigeonholes.
Amen.
I had someone say to me, I sold my home and I bought my freedom.
Yeah.
And she has, like you, she has decided for the last decade, this was when she was 62 years old. She sold her home and bought her freedom. She spent the next, and it was all because she was laid off of her job, for the aging out, right? Couldn't get a job somewhere else. And I'm like, well, what adventure do you want to go on? And she had a friend that lived in London. She goes, well, I love visiting my friend in London. And that's how it started. She started to scratch the itch. And then she decided, she lived a couple months in London. And then she's like, then she came back to Chicago and lived a few months here. But home for her at that time was Seattle. So she found herself over a decade, every 3 months, she went from London to Chicago, back to Seattle to Phoenix, because that's where she wanted to spend her time.
Yeah.
And then she picked up all this contract work that she could work wherever she was.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go to live the way Danny's planning to live in the present moment. You can only be a receptor.
Right.
You can only be in receiving mode. That's it. Like you're not in planning or predicting or remembering or like
your ego mind.
You can only be so all your antennae are out and available, and so you're noticing the things you need in the moment. If you're like driving around and you're like, I need a place to I need something to eat. Well, then all of a sudden it's like your awearess is all set for something to eat or place to park or
and it's magic. Like I've been very clear about the fear, right? But I also want to say that is magical when you are only in receiving mode. And I've had people like, well, where are you going after that first campground?
I don't know.
What I do believe,
it's like,
I don't know. But here's what I do believe. I believe the process of answering that question will be filled with magic.
Yeah, I have
no idea what that magic's going to be.
Yeah, and it's the synchronicities. It's the way the universe talks to you. It's like it's magical, and it is an amazing way to live life and talk about coming alive. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. I have one other thing that I want to ask for the people listening is, I know there are those people who are saying, yeah, that sounds fantastic. She probably has 2 years worth of salary saved up so that she can go and drive around and do what she's going to do. And I'm not asking for specific details, but I think it would be helpful for people to understand how you chose to handle the money piece of this.
Reality. Yeah. So you say that as if it's a done deal. It is not figured out. It is definitely a source of having to do a lot of mind management and a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I set it up so that I am able to do some work, but I do feel like a big part of this lesson is, and this still sound weird, I don't know how well this will land, but breaking out of the fallacy that money equals security.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me absolutely believes that, because do I want more money in my bank account before I go do this so that I feel more secure? Yeah.
But you're never really truly ready financially. That's
the thing. You'll never fully be ready. Now, I did just as some of I didn't plan for this particular thing, but I knew at some point I was going to leave the job because I was so unhappy with it.
Yeah.
And so I did get to a point where I was saving a little bit. It's not a lot. So I did save a little bit. It is not 2 years worth of salary. It's not.
Well, but here's the
worth
thing
of
I want to
salary.
point out. Here's the thing I want to point out. It's not about how much money you make or how much you've saved. It's about how much you're spending.
Yeah.
Because I have watched people create whole new lives because they've redesigned their output.
Mhm.
And
You know what? I think that's a book, Julie. Sorry, that lightning bolt just came in. I actually write it down. I actually think that it's not about what you're saving, it's about what you're spending. And that whole helping people to reframe. I'm sorry, guys, this is a complete like insight, but write that down.
got it.
Yeah. Well, and so there's your relationship with money. Like I talk to my clients around money is such a complex thing for people, but like if you think of money as a person, like as a lover, how's that relationship?
Ooh,
What are your thoughts towards it?
that's
How much do you
good.
ignore
That's
it? Do you nurture it? Do you give it attention? Are you grateful for like?
Well, it's kind of like how they always say, like, do you respect your money? How do you
Yeah.
keep your dollar bills and your credit card? How do you organize those in your wallet? Is it
Mhm.
all crumpled up? Is it organized and straight? It's about respecting it. I actually told a client yesterday, I go, she's got more than enough material wealth and she has no debt. So she's not cleaning up any financial past while trying to create the future that she wants. And I'm like going, wow, normally I'm hitting people on one of those two sides, because so many people are income affluent, but they're not asset affluent. And if they have both, but for this one, I was like, oh, she's figured out all of the money stuff outside of herself. No debts, cash flow's fine, assets are fine. I go, you don't have a relationship with money inside.
Yeah.
And so we literally had a brainstorming session of how to build that relationship with money on the inside. And it was little things like, so she meditates. I said, you need to go get $100 bill. You need to put it in your hands and you need to have a conversation with money, like what that is like, and how you feel when money's just sitting in your hands. I have for years given people the assignment. If they have challenges with debt and cash flow, I want you to take $100 bill and I want you to put it in your wallet and you don't spend it under any circumstances whatsoever. Because you're not used to actually holding money in abundance. And physiologically holding in abundance, it actually has shifted thousands of people I've worked with. And for her, I was like, we even got to the point where we were having so much fun with this brainstorming session that we found bras that were made in money print or actual money that you could get on. I go, you gotta go buy this bra and you need to wear it like when you go to sleep, like no joke, because she needs to embody money in her heart. And some people be like, that's terrible. It shouldn't be in life about money. No, I'm sorry. It's a practical way to get through our world. So it is a piece that is woven into who you are.
It is about money though. Like whether you want it to be or not, like the way our culture is structured, not that everything is about money, not that money needs to be your focus, but you can't ignore your relationship with money because it's hard to live in this culture without figuring that piece of it out. And to listen to your soul, and if you know what that soul calling is, and if you're using money as the primary reason to say, nope, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone, you will always stay there. Because Julie, I think you said this, you'll never feel financially ready. You just have to trust it's the live in the moment, you'll figure it out. What was that? I didn't hear you, sorry.
Never ready to have a baby be birthed through your body. Like you're never, ever ready for that, ever. Karen knows my experience. I was never ready for it. 4 times I tried.
You just have to trust. You have to trust that you will figure it out.
Yeah. And just know, and I have said this so many times, that the minute you shift your work life, all the money shows up because you're following your heart, and your heart is the biggest magnetic force that you have.
Yeah. And it's your classic choose to. Danny said it earlier, it's decisions. Like once you decide, then the universe is like, oh, okay, got it. Because before then they're sending you a little bit of all kinds of stuff and you're feeling like, no, this shit is not right. Like, wait, that's not quite right. And then you decide, you make the decision, and it's almost like magic. right? The things that you need start to show up because there's
Can I give an example of that? That
Yeah.
literally has just happened in the past 2 days.
Yeah.
So I've gone probably a month without a consult or a new client, which is uncommon. And I was like, should I be worried about this? And of course I was worried about this and I had to do all the work with it. And just 2 days ago, I did some work around making this decision to go live out of the car and basically letting go of the resistance and just surrendering and going, I don't want to go live in a car. I don't want to go car camp, but I feel like I am. So like, that's another part of me telling me that I know this is what I'm supposed to do. So I made the decision to do it. Yesterday, I got a consult, and today I got another referral.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. And that happens all the time. That's not a unique example. So just to kind of ground, to anchor that in, Karen.
Yeah.
I will echo that. I literally, when even a client cancels on my books, I'm like, okay, show me what I'm supposed to do during this time period today, that it was just freed up. And literally it'll go whoop, and it'll come in. I'll be like, okay, got it. This is what I need to do. Like, this is when you're in the flow of your own life, this is what happens. And it's okay. That space was recreated because you were supposed to align with something else.
Yeah. And that's when it can be fun. That's when making big changes and taking big leaps, yes, there's fear, but that's when it can get really fun.
Yep.
As you start to kind of be in that present moment and where am I being guided?
Danny, thank you so much for
thank you. This has been wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming in. Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's nothing better than people sharing their stories to say, hey, I'm on the other side and it's okay. Or you're like in transition. You're not on the other side yet. You're taking the leap, and that's beautiful. And
you have to come back.
Yeah.
Like 60 or 90 days from now, come back.
Okay.
Doing.
Okay, that'll be interesting, won't it?
That'll be awesome.
I'll be able to be like all greasy haired and grubby sitting outside in a tent. I don't know.
No, girl, you're going to get on the road. You're going to find something, connect with some organization or people, are you married?
No.
Yeah.
So you don't,
like all kinds of.
I'm free. Yeah. But that does not mean if you're not married, or if you are married, that you can't do this. One of my best friends and her family, husband, 2 kids, are setting out to do a 9-month road trip, something similar to this.
I just had a client, they have a 2-year-old, and I talked him into buying a $25,000 RV, and this thing makes them giggle like no tomorrow. And he's an attorney and she's in HR. And it's like, oh my God, talk about as like follow the rules in the box as you can get.
Right?
And they got the whole 6 months planned out now that they bought their RV. And I'm like, why would you not? Your kid is not in school yet.
Oh, yeah.
Southwest in the crappy times of the Chicago weather. Why not?
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Danny.
Yes, it was so lovely to meet both of you. I'd be happy to come back and report how it all goes.
Yeah.
I'm also going to probably be doing a podcast and maybe a YouTube channel, if you want to follow that along too. So
yeah, thanks. Let us know.
Sounds great, Danny. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.